Ladies and gentlemen, one of the hardest working convention guests, Mr. James Doohan.
Thank you. Where did we leave off yesterday? How many are here for the first time? Oh, wow. This is the Saturday crowd, eh? All right. Great. Well, where do we begin then? You know, I want to tell you that it's possible there to be a Star Trek 5 somewhere in the future. And who knows what will happen. I just hope we have a good story and that you're going to love it. The same as you love 4 and 3 and 2. Okay? And 1. So, all right. Now, as I tell everyone, this is fun time, and you're supposed to have fun, and you're supposed to laugh at everything I say. Okay? Because otherwise, you know, you're going to be tested on it, and there'll be so many points, you know, for a big belly laugh, and so many points for a little titter, and then a little swatter. That's another one. So, anybody have any questions? Yes? Yes, ma'am. Come and use the microphone, please. If you want to ask a question, come up and use the microphone. Then we can hear your dulcet tones.
Well, I understand they're trying to get rid of you or Dr. McCoy in the next movie. Would you real upset?
Well, I don't know how he has that much power right now to say something like that. But it's if he's trying to recreate Star Trek, you know, into a different kind of thing. And so if either he destroys us by not putting us into the movie, or destroys us while the movie is running, shall we say, I really don't know how he can do it. But if Paramount lets him do it, then to hell with Paramount. Okay?
Well, there's going to be a lot of disappointed people if he does. And I have one other question.
And they'll have a smaller gate also.
Yeah. For real. What's it like working with William Shatner? I understand, you know, like, you can hear anything, but the truth is, what is he like working with? I understand
He's a very difficult person to work with. You know, his ego is so fantastic that you know, it comes into a opposing position all the time. That sort of thing gets to be a little ridiculous, and I really don't want to talk about it anymore. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi.
Hello, I got a quick question about your series.
Oh, you had to write it down, eh?
Well, just an old note. Is it true that you did voices of some of the aliens in the TV series, such as Sargon and Return to Mars?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I did, I can't remember all the different voices I did, but one of them I definitely know is Sargon. It was such a distinctive name, so I remember it, you know. Okay? Yes.
I've read that before they chose the Scottish accent for you, that you had read several other accents. Could I hear one of your other accents?
Oh, you want to hear how I got the role of Scotty, then?
I heard that you read for a Russian accent.
I'll go through my shtick, okay? And so anyway, we always have a lot of fun, and particularly a lot of new people here haven't heard how I got the role. I would tell them that 2 weeks before they were going to do the second pilot of Star Trek, my agent sent me to read for the part of a Scotland Yard inspector. And so I did 3 or 4 different English accents for them. And they, I didn't get that job. They thought I looked too much like Gene, what's the hell was his name? Gene Barry, yeah. They thought that, you know, it looked like, that I looked like a younger brother or something. And so they thought that nepotism would be brought in and all that stuff, you know. But anyway, John Williams got the part. But about 10 days later, the director of that called me up and said, I'm going to direct the second pilot of Star Trek, and I'd like you to come and do some of your accents for them. I said, who are they? And because I wasn't up for it. And so he told me, and so I went down one morning, and they handed me one page of the script, and I proceeded to do that script with 7 or 8 different accents. And they said, which accent do you like? I said, well, I really think he should be Scottish, because Scotsmen are traditionally famous engineers anyway. So, and they said, well, we'd rather like that. And I said, okay, I'll name him Montgomery Scott. And forget the Edward that is in those books. You know, whatever those books are, I don't know what they are. But somebody has it as Montgomery Edward Scott, right? Ridiculous. How do they have the right to add another name onto my name? Okay? But you know, supposing that when Captain Kirk calls down to engineering and says, give me warp 12, instead of hearing the familiar, but Captain, my engine's just can't take that. Instead of hearing that, you'll hear, see? Or you hear, oi, hey, that is the Scott 12. Or you hear, Captain, you are playing with me, huh? And also I noticed that on the last planet you did not get the girl. You should have come to Lucky Pierre. Or we have, Captain. Or we have, now look here, Captain. I've told you many times before, I don't like to go above that warp 8. Oh, that's in order. Well, all right. And then we have something like this, you know, give me warp 12. What do you say, sweetie? Or we have, you be young Kirkade. Listen here, laddie, I see you hanging from the highest yardarm in Starfleet. Before I'll give you warp 12. Or we have, my favorite, which is Reggie. And he would answer the captain something like this. I'm terribly sorry, sir. I can't seem to get the little buggers to move any faster. You know, another question that I get asked an awful lot, to go on a little bit from that, is what would I do if I were captain? The first thing I would do would be to limit Ensign Kirk. To one girl every year. Then Chekhov would never be allowed to scream again. Sulu would never be allowed to carry arms. You know, no matter how we all love him, if you went hunting with George, you'd find his shotgun right here. We would give Uhura some other lines than hailing frequencies open. She doesn't get enough to think. Bones would never be allowed to say, he's dead, Jim. And most importantly, Mr. Spock would never, ever, ever be allowed in my engine room. It always used to bug me that the guy who built the ship knows how everything works and put all the computers in and all this sort of stuff. And every time they got into trouble, they sent Mr. Spock down, you know, to fiddle around with some formula, right? Why didn't he just fiddle around with the formulas up there on the fridge? So anyway, that's the answer to that. Okay? So, you're welcome. Yes, sir.
Where did the line in the Star Trek 2 where you said when you stepped into the elevator and the elevator said level please, you had that line? Was that?
Well, yeah, shot. Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
That was one of Harv Bennett's favorite comic lines. Yeah.
I remember I saw a clip where it was explained on where the line came from the show was that you said that you beat them over in the engine room and playing on a vessel before you know where it was called. I was just wondering, they said nobody knows where that line came from.
I said that line.
Well, I know that you said it.
I made it up too. Oh yeah. And I also, when somebody asked me by any other name, and I bring out this bottle, fellas, and the fella says, he says, what's that? And I look at it and I say, that's green. Right? Yes, sir.
Hi, Jimmy. When I saw you in Charlotte about a year and a half ago, you was telling us about a play that you was trying to put together about the actor who died and had to audition to get into heaven.
Yeah, that's a play I partly own. Now,
I was just wondering whatever happened to it.
well, we haven't done anything about it yet, you know. I've been too busy doing other things right now, but probably if I'm not in number 5, I'll probably do the play then, you know. Okay? You're welcome.
I was curious what kind of hobbies you have and also what kind of books you read besides fiction.
I usually read adventure type novels or good spy novels. Like I'm reading right now Len Dayton's London Match, you know, which is a third one of a trilogy of his. Because I like the way he writes about spies, because it's more realistic, and I go for realism, you know. My hobbies used to be woodworking. I don't do so much anymore. Because I got a family and they keep me pretty busy. And when I used to be a bachelor, I would be working in my workshop there until dawn. And you know, and I used to smoke in those days, and I'd light a cigarette and put it down, never smoke it again. Light another one, put it down, never smoke it again. So all day long, I wasn't really doing much smoking, you know. But about 5 years ago, I quit smoking, you know, cold turkey. And anybody who knows how much I used to smoke, boy, I'm telling you, it was like a continuous, you know, nicotine halo around my head. Yes?
I'm a collector of old radio broadcasts, and last night I found out that you used to do radio broadcasting. I was wondering, is it possible to give me a copy of those?
No, I did most of them for the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, and they just didn't seem to record them. You know, we always, every time we had to redo a show, like, you know, by popular demand, we really redid the whole show. You know, the full orchestra and everything else. You know, I mean, specifically the Sunday night radio drama series, and this for you who didn't know the days of just radio and newspapers. This is long before television, and before television even became that popular. There were fabulous radio dramas, really some sensational stuff, and we did about the best there was on Sunday nights, called Stage 46. Next year was Stage 47. Next year is Stage 48. Yes?
Do you know if it's possible to still get any copies of the manuscripts?
I don't think they would let go of the manuscripts if they had them. It's possible that somebody has them, but even, you know, tape recorders weren't even as good as they are now.
Yeah.
So they just didn't, you know, they didn't trust them.
Most of them were made out of glass.
And wire tape recorders, yeah. So there's not much that is taped, okay? Yes.
I just wanted to say that Star Trek doesn't be Star Trek and had you as a toy.
Ah, girl. Thank you. Thank you. Excuse me. I don't think Star Trek would be Star Trek without all of us. Okay? Yes, sir.
I would like to ask, in Star Trek 3, Search for Spock, when you were doing the scene of stealing the Enterprise from the space dock, and it was just the 5 of you on the bridge, and Scotty was sitting there, he had fixed it so that he could run on the ship from that one little panel. Did you work any of the lights or any of the panels or anything when you were doing that scene? I mean, don't even count it. Was they actually work any of the lights, or did technicians do that behind the set?
Oh, no, the technicians do all that stuff behind. You know, that's not wired that well. It's wired well. In other words, those are all a whole bunch of real TV sets behind there. But all those things are all done and pre-planned and everything else. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Bring it down to my level.
Your level's pretty high there.
Do you know anything about the new Star Trek, the new generation that's to be?
I know a little bit about it, yeah. And as a matter of fact, there for quite a while, a lot of us, including George and Dee and Bill and Leonard and everything else, and myself and Walter and Uhura complained about the fact that they were calling it Star Trek: The Next Generation. And we got to a point where we just didn't like them using the name Star Trek because we all knew what Star Trek was. However, I realized after a while that it's hard enough to create a new series without having a bunch of people from the other series, you know, start complaining. You know, if they come up to the quality and have the luck of Star Trek, then it's probably okay to call it Star Trek. Okay? But you know what? I think what they'll probably do is actually basically call it something else. I think Star Trek is kind of like a working title for it now. Which is what happens a lot in Hollywood is the working title is so-and-so, and that's what they call the thing, right? So that may be what happens. But I read the list of all the characters that Gene has created on paper, and if he succeeds in getting the actors to do even characters to the value of 30% of what he has on paper, it should be a great show, you know. But he also told me that he says, I don't know. He says, with you guys it was easy. And now he's having a heck of a time trying to cast it. So.
Also, one comment, my husband and I were stationed in West Germany, and he was in the military, and we got to go to the Wormhole Convention. I got to meet your counterpart who does both your voice and Bones' voice, and who does the German dubbing.
Mr. Ludwig.
Yes.
Ludwig. Yeah, I know. I met him too.
Yes, I got an autograph of both of them. That was quite interesting. There was somewhat of a language barrier, but it wasn't that much. And
no, he speaks pretty good English. As a matter of fact, he was a prisoner of war for about 3 years in Canada, in Lethbridge, Alberta.
Their conventions are so much different from ours. This particular one was only about 150 people or so, and there was a group picture of everyone who attended the convention. Can you imagine that in our country?
Oh, yeah. That was, Warp 2, wasn't it? No, they call it Wormhole, didn't they?
This was Wormhole, and
I was at the second one. I was supposed to be at the first one, and then the movie, one of the movies got in the way. I forget which one.
This was in fall of '85, and we would have gone to last year's, but we were conned out after we had come back and been to the World Con.
Yeah. I think, I forget which one I was at anyway. I think I was at the second one. Okay? Yes, sir.
I was here last night, and I was really distressed to hear how you and some of the other actors who seem to be regarded charged by Paramount. I know that the supporting cast is the supporting cast, and the Sulu and Uhura and Scotty are going to be the leads. But do you think there's anything that we can do for Paramount to treat the supporting actors and the writers to treat the supporting characters with more respect than they seem to be doing as of late?
Well, the only way that Paramount is going to treat us with a modicum of more of respect is for people to write letters and don't talk about Bill Shatner in the letter but talk about us.
I've done that.
Okay, I know, but you realize that if you have written them, they value that letter as if 1,200 people have done the same thing. So letters are very powerful when they're addressed to like the president of Paramount. Very powerful. I mean, all they have to do is get 500 letters a week, and 500 letters a week around the country is peanuts. That's a drop in the bucket. But that's 500 people plus 12 times 1,200 that feel the same way.
In that case, then maybe everybody in this room should write a letter against ants.
Thank you. Hi.
Good afternoon.
Same to you.
The lady a while back had mentioned about the German dubbing of Star Trek. What I'd be interested in seeing would be the Japanese.
Well, you know what? I have an audio tape of The Trouble with Tribbles, and I tell you, I can't understand a word they're saying. But I was at a place that sells business forms and things like that. And this little Japanese woman came up to me, and she looked at me and said, Scotty! And she went on, and she told me that she saw it originally in Japan, for the summer reruns over there. And she says, because that's where she lived, now she lives in Los Angeles. And she says, I thought everybody spoke Japanese. All the characters thought they were all speaking Japanese. She didn't see the lipstick or anything else. And I also have a picture of the character who plays my part. And he looks a lot like me, except he's about this size. So, anyway. You would like to hear the Japanese. You want a version? It's a little bit of Chinese thrown in there, too.
Did you ever, I saw you at another con, you mentioned that one of your ambitions was to play King Lear. Have you ever had a chance to
Yes, but I haven't had a chance to play it yet. It's too bad.
And were there any scenes from the fourth movie that were not in?
Yeah, I mean, there are scenes, but you know what? We don't, as actors, sit down and say, hey, they didn't put that scene, they didn't put that scene in. We don't do that. Fans always ask us, and we say, what are you talking about? Because whatever is the edited version, we usually accept that. We don't remember the scenes that are cut out.
Thank you.
Okay? You're welcome. Hi.
In Star Trek 2, you had, I think this is true, you had a nephew.
Yeah.
It was well fun in the book, but it wasn't really mentioned at all in the movie. Is there a reason for that?
No, Mr. Shatner had all that stuff cut out. But the American Broadcasting Corporation put it all back in again when they put their version of Star Trek 2 on the screen, right? I mean, on television on the Sunday night. So that's, if you really want to see it, you have to do their version, which it'll probably be shown sometime in the future again. So you really have to watch for it.
And secondly, do you really play the bagpipes?
No, but I figure them beautifully. Hi.
Not to change the subject, but how did you get involved with the Citibank commercials? Did you enjoy having your wife with you?
Yeah, well, my wife had never, ever He's never even read a line in a high school play or anything else, you know. And so the agent approached me with the thing, and they wanted the wives of certain celebrities to do the main part of the commercial, and then have the celebrity come in at the last 5 seconds and, you know, and say something along with their character. And so I had everything all settled, with all the money settled and everything else, and the longevity of it. And then I said to her, I said, honey, you want to be a star? She said, what do you mean? And so I told her. She said, well, okay. And she was darn good, because she didn't take up any more than 6 takes to get it done. And I've seen commercials with stars, you know, supposed to know their business, 35 and 36 takes, right? Just never getting it right. But she did. And we had a good director, and he told her at the end, because she was so good, and he was hoping that he would not have to come back the next day because he had taken so much time in the morning. And we didn't start shooting her until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And he was finished with her by 4, and then I had to come in and do my little bit. And I mean, he just told her, he says, honey, you were so good, you just saved my ass. So, you're welcome.
Mr. Doohan, my comment is more on line of the statement. I saw an interview when Star Trek was celebrating its 20th anniversary. Gene Roddenberry on the morning talk show, and he was talking about how much he wanted new young blood injected into Star Trek. And I want to tell you on my behalf, and on a friend of mine who died in '84, that I grew up in the Star Trek generation, and you gave us, all of you, gave us something to believe in and something to hold on to. I think that's why it's become a cult, and I just want to say thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Okay. And if you have any objection to what Gene Roddenberry said, you write him a letter, please. Let him know. Because I tell you, the letters are very, very powerful. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I've got a couple of questions. One of them being...
Come a little closer to the microphone. Yeah.
One of my questions being, after every season of episodes, y'all got together what you call blooper reel and made a blooper reel of each season's outtakes. Why don't they do that with movies?
One of the reasons they don't do it with the movies is because we're just about perfect. It's true, actually. I think there was probably only one thing that anybody broke up on camera while we were shooting any of the 4 movies. Now, when you do television, they rush you an awful lot. And, they come on, let's get this going and shoot this and all this sort of stuff. And you're bound to make some mistakes. And those mistakes are picked up on the camera, right? And then they edit the whole thing together and it becomes a blooper reel. You just don't make that many mistakes in a big motion picture where you're so relaxed, you know, that you don't really, you just don't make mistakes. Okay?
My other question is, in Star Trek II, during the Rathcon, there was a lot of explosions of at least fire scenes on the bridge with the panels going out and that sort of thing. How do they protect the actors in those kinds of situations?
Well, those things are not really terribly dangerous as far as the actors are concerned, because they usually, if there was anything very dangerous, they'd have a shield in front of them that you couldn't see. So, it's the same as a wild animal walking across something. They're walking across them with glass on the other side, in between people like that. Either that or the animal is doped up so that they don't, they're all got a lot of value, you know what I'm saying? I don't know whether it was on 2 or 4. No, it was 2 or 3. The head prop man, or the guy who was, what did they call him? Explosions man and everything else. He had there's a special name for the kind of explosion that he had set up, you know. It was all going down, I think it had to be number 2. And unfortunately, something happened, and he was the guy, and he got it right in the back. His back was so badly burned, you know, and he stayed on the set. And then about 2 o'clock in the morning, went to the hospital. You know, silly thing for him to do, but he was special effects. That's that's what. But special effects on the set, and but it was, the whole thing was not set up properly yet, and yet something happened, and it just blew. You know, and hit him down at the end. You know, that's the nature of the business.
I just have one comment to say. I really, really love Star Trek. It helped me through a very bad time watching how the crew reacted to the death of Scott when my brother died. It really meant a lot to see the crew and how they handled it, because it really helped me a lot to handle the same thing. So I just really appreciate what Star Trek's done for me.
Well, thank you, dear. You know, I think Star Trek, you hear so many things like that, and so many things that are letters that are written to us about things like that, whatever it is, we are so delighted that we have helped, but we're doing it without knowing it, you know. And yet, so many people talk about similar things in their lives, and Star Trek helped them through. Great, thank you.
Hi. It seemed to me that in Star Trek 4, the whole cast must have had so much fun in filming the movie, particularly like when we were filming the crashing of Bird of Prey, like in San Francisco Bay. I don't know if you actually had a lot of fun doing that in the water or not, but...
Oh, we did. We did have a lot of fun, yeah.
Can you relate any other fun experiences that you had, some of the most fun experiences that you had while taking the thing?
Well, the thing about the scenes in the Bird of Prey and in the water, actually one of the great fun things about it was that we had to be completely wet. Okay? So every time we came on the set, we just dove in the water. You know? The hell with the makeup and everything else, you know. And so we just dove in the water, swam over to the Bird of Prey, and it was a lot better than getting on the back and climbing through and coming around the top and all that sort of stuff. And then when we finished shooting and they closed it for the day, we just swam back to the steps, you see? And because that part is only about, it was a lot faster to swim than it was to walk again, but it's only 4 feet long and deep anyhow. And when it's not being used with water in it, it's a parking lot. Okay? But the very first day that we shot there was a Friday, and it was 72 degrees in Los Angeles, and it was outside. And when they turned on the wind machines and the rain machines, dropped the water in front of those wind machines, the wind machines are called Ritter fans. And it was just, I swear to you, at 72 degrees, it was just like icicles being hit at, blown at us, you know. And the next day of shooting was a Monday. It was 95 degrees, and we were getting warm icicles coming at us, you know. It was really quite something. And also, there's so much wind from the fans that we had to turn away to catch a breath. And then turn and do our 30 seconds of acting. You know, it's really something else, but it was fun, a lot of fun. And but maybe if the last day of shooting, let's see how much time. The last day of shooting was up in for DeForest and myself and Walter and George and Uhura was up in Monterey, right? Well, we finished about 11 o'clock, and Paramount had us booked on a flight at 4:30 in the afternoon. And we said, hey, come on, you know, we want to get back home and all this sort of stuff. Why hang around there in Monterey watching these other people shoot? You know, Bill and Leonard were doing something there, and Jillian. And so I tell you what, it was such a comedy of errors that most of us spent at least the next 5 or 6 hours laughing all the time. Is that we waited and we laughed because we were exuberant that we had finished the movie. And then we were put on a plane, a twin-engined prop plane, to be taken to San Francisco to catch a United Airlines flight down to Los Angeles instead of waiting till 4:30 at Monterey. I swear to you, sitting in that prop plane, we were delayed. We were not allowed to land in San Francisco, which is only just, you know, up the bay a bit. And I had always used the Stan Laurel, you know, Laurel and Hardy kind of thing with D, and as if he was Ollie, the fat one, you know. They turned on something in the airplane, and it was going, and we didn't know what it was, you know, who cared, you know, but we weren't moving, that's for sure. And I turned, and Carolyn, Dee's wife, was there. She and Dee were up about 2 rows ahead of me. And I started the whole thing off, I guess, Dave, by saying, Ollie, I think we better tell the pilot that a hum won't get us there. You know, well, Carolyn Kelly she just split. She just broke up, right? And about 10 other people in the plane broke up. And one woman was so scared, you know, that she just, what's everybody laughing? And everything else. Well, I swear to you, that started the whole thing. Because then I went on and I said something else. I have no idea what it was. But from that flight to arriving at San Francisco, missing 2 flights down to LA, because they travel every 45 minutes. You know, it's the busiest corridor going, even busier than Boston, New York, or New York, Washington. And it was just something else. And because we got on a plane, right? Walter and I and Dee and Carolyn were in this plane. We didn't have first class seats, who cared? We were getting home, you know. And but some people complained about no, not first class seats, you know, and everything else. So the thing was that they took us away from the gate and came back to the gate again and told us that there was going to be another half-hour wait. And Nichelle and George doesn't drink that much, but she wanted to drink, right? Well, she got to the bar. Well, they don't announce things in the bar. She got to the bar at exactly the same time as we pulled out of the gate again, right? Oh, I'm telling you, it was something else. And knowing that she had missed, and knowing how she gets uppity, you know, when things don't happen the way she wants them to happen, well, we were just having a fit of laughter, knowing, just imagining what it was like. And there she was with George, right? And George wasn't drinking and having a good time. So anyway, then when we got home to LA, I just said to Walter, there was no limousine waiting for us and all that stuff, So I said to Walter, I said, come on, we'll just call up a limousine. And I said, you'll be the last one delivered because he's the furthest in there. And we said, here, if you want to pay him cash, you can find him, but Paramount will pay the bill and everything else. So the limousine dropped Dee and Carolyn off, then they dropped me off, and then they dropped Walter off. Well, the next, Michelle and George caught the next plane out, and all they could think of was that we hadn't left them a limo. They didn't, I tell you. And they called us up afterwards, and said, why didn't you leave us a limo, and everything else? They said there wasn't one for us either. So anyway, it was such a comedy of errors. It was so much fun. Really, all we did was laugh all day long. Okay? Gives you some hint of what these actors are like when they're by themselves, Yes?
Well, first off, I'm glad to hear that you got started in radio because I'm in radio myself, but that's beside the point. Anyway, I just wanted to know what agency represents you?
What agency represents me? The 20th Century Artists represent George and myself.
Oh.
Okay?
Yeah.
Hi.
This is not a question, it's like, this is a statement. I know they don't have a script for Star Trek 5, but this is just like a possible scenario. It's like, the Klingon ambassador said there would be no peace until Kirk was. So, a good start for the movie would be to say like, President of the Federation and Commander Starfleet take a prisoner to the Klingon homeworld, and shoot him down in the air in space, and pick him up. It's Captain Kirk. Peace. Not a big war in Star Trek 5. Make peace with the Klingons. Turn Captain Kirk over to him.
Hi, Dara.
I've got two quick questions. I wonder if you could share some of the humorous things that happened in Star Trek 3. Like,
honey.
something funny first.
You know what? We have a lot of fun shooting these films, but we just don't record the humorous things that happen. There's no way. Walter wrote a book of the first one and put a lot of things in there, but that's because he had pen and pencil in hand and all that sort of stuff, and that's how you remember them. But as far as we're concerned, I hate writing. So I don't remember those things. I just live the day by day as we go along.
My question is, I know you want to talk about him, but during the series, was Shatner such an asshole for him to get that way?
Well, you used the word. Yeah, no, dear. It grew on it. It started out, I think the very first thing we had within about the second or third show that we did was Bill got uptight because Leonard had a photographer in there, and the photographer had taken a shot of Bill's bald head. And Bill's bald head was the worst looking head of hair I'd ever seen. Or no hair or what. It looked like a rat had eaten it. It would have been better for him to have shaved what was there. But that's not going to be the same anymore because he now has implants in there, which works very well. He can swim in water, do whatever he wants. Okay?
I've got a quick trivia question for you.
Oh, God. What trivia do I know?
In Doomsday Machine, your favorite, you break out of your Scottish accent for about one line. Was that on purpose as a joke, or did you?
I have no idea. No, I don't do things like that on purpose. If I did it, I don't know any reason why. It either had to be a line that was very specifically needed that it was so clear for what I had to say that there was no question of garbled. Because I remember early on, anyway, that Gene Roddenberry said to me, he said, "You must not make the accent too thick." He says, "The American people will not understand it." You know, so that was my goal. Okay? Picky, picky, picky.
I'd like to say that I enjoyed all the Star Trek movies 1 through 4. And it seems as though that the movies got better as they progressed further. How do you feel about it?
Well, I think the first one wasn't anywhere near as good as any of the rest of them. I think the second was better than the third. So I don't think that your progression story really works. I think The Wrath of Khan is probably, other than the fact that it's a completely different type of movie than number 4, I would just about vote for Wrath of Khan as being the best one. I don't think number 3 came up anywhere close to The Wrath of Khan. And then number 4 is such a completely different kind of movie that, you know, and I give it very high marks too. But for absolute perfection, to me, particularly with Ricardo Montalban playing that character so beautifully, you know, to me, I've got to vote for number 2, you know, The Wrath of Khan. So I don't think your progression story really works. Okay? Yeah. All right, sure. You're entitled to it.
I saw an old episode of Magnum Opus, like
Yeah, with a Scottish accent.
Yeah.
That's typecasting again, see?
I was wondering how you got this work. Did it come to you or
My agent tried his best to get me that part. That's how hard it is to see, because not only am I typecast as a Scotsman, I'm also typecast as a spaceman. See? So it's very difficult. My agent has a tough time. Yeah.
What's it like to work with Leonard Nimoy?
Oh, Leonard is a gem. This is why it seems so terribly strange that Bill doesn't get along with us and we don't get along with Bill, because what the hell? Basically, Leonard and he are in the same position, except I put Leonard a little higher up. And certainly as a human being, Leonard is way up there. No matter if he's an alien or not, you know. But no, he is a gem of a person, and we found out that he's probably the best director we ever had. No, absolutely.
So he is as good a director as he is an actor.
I think he's even better. Yeah.
And do you think
And I think that he has found his forte in directing, and I hope he gets a lot of directing jobs on big movies, because he sure knows what he's doing.
And you think he can finish out his career in directing?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. He's terrific. I mean, you know, he comes with your homework done, the cinematographer's homework done, the designer's homework done, and if you let him, as an actor, he'd have your homework done too. You know? I mean, that's how prepared he is, and he handles you so nicely. You know, with he's just so perfect.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
This is not exactly what I started to come up here at, at least at some conventions, there are talebearers who are reporting back things that you're saying about Mr. Shatner. It just is kind of not good.
It's kind of what here?
Not good.
No, and naturally it's not good. No, we don't.
I've got to be around him one time, and I can see that he's just, his relations, the way he relates to people, I can see what he's like, but still, the tale's going back to him.
Well, you know, I understand that he knows what we talk about, and because obviously somebody's going them. But you know what? He says, I don't know why. And you know what? That is the bigger ego. If he doesn't even know why. Good God, if you don't know who you are and what you are, you know, it's ridiculous.
The question I wanted to ask was, now in the scene where y'all are getting off the wrecked bird of prey, I read and saw a still photograph that said, and the captain said something about your foot slipping, you going down into the water again when I saw the
Have you seen Star Trek before? You actually see it in film.
You barely pop forward. I had got the impression, at least from the photograph right up, that your foot slipped down that way.
That's one version. That's one version of what happened.
Well, they didn't reshoot the thing, they did reshoot it.
No, honey, if you will notice, while the credits are running, you actually see me slip down. Isn't that? They use that film. Okay? Okay? All right. This is the last question.
In the series, you mentioned that Kirk always got the girls. Chekhov did a lot of screening and Sulu likes to play with guns and stuff. But you got the girl a couple of times. However, it really didn't go too well.
What do you mean by got the girl? I don't remember any dotting.
Well, that
was the point.
Most of the fall, you were hanging around with the belly dance and
Well, now the belly dancer, now that's well, okay. Tanya Lamani.
Carolyn was more or less your girlfriend or whatever. Did the jumps and the falls, I mean, Chekhov did a lot of screaming, and obviously he did that himself. But when Apollo kept throwing you over the table, and M5 kept throwing you across the engineering room, did you do that, or was that?
No, but some of it I did, because I had two stuntmen behind me. I had a harness on under my uniform, and these two stuntmen, just together, they would say 1, 2, and then pull me back, right? And then, of course, they pull me back outside of off screen, and then they catch me. And that sort of thing. That's kind of fun to do that, you know, because it's not really dangerous at all, you know. And in the Trouble with Tribbles, I did 95% of my own fight there, and so much so that the stuntman who was hired to double me said to me, he says, hey, if I become a big star, will you be my stuntman? You know? But I was much younger then, so, you know. And of course, up to that time, and including when I worked in Canada, I did all my own stunts up there. You know, they didn't even have stuntmen. Okay? All right. Yes, ma'am?
I wanted to take a picture of the whole of you.
Get the microphone out of the way.
Can I also ask if you were in touch with those whales? Were you close to them? Well, thank you very much.
James, what's Paramount's address? What's Paramount's address? Paramount's address. Paramount's address. 5555 Melrose Avenue, Los Angeles, Hollywood, 90038. Los Angeles, California.
You're the only person who hasn't seen it. What's the matter with you?
I forgot to give you a Scottish toast. Now this is a Scottish toast that I will say twice and then translate it. Hail Status and was like this, guide you in their odd deed. Hail Status and was